My girlfriend scoffed. "Please, you'd never survive without me." I replied, "Is that so?" Then I took the promotion abroad, booked temporary housing, and requested mail redirection. When she showed up at my old place with a speech prepared, the new tenant opened the door instead. I, 35 male, have always considered myself a competent man. As a civil engineer for a massive multinational firm, I manage complex infrastructure projects that require precision and foresight. I can, despite what my now ex-girlfriend might believe, successfully match my own socks. Yet, for the past 5 years, I've existed in a state of curated helplessness, a role carefully crafted for me by Bianca, 34. Our relationship began with a whirlwind of charm. Bianca works in high-end public relations. Her world is image, perception, and curation. When she moved into my apartment 3 years ago, she brought that professional skill set home. My life became her new project. It started small. She'd pick out my clothes, sighing that my own taste was tragically pedestrian. She reorganized my kitchen, declaring my system logically unsound. She took over our social calendar, slowly filtering out my old comfortable friends in favor of her more vibrant and socially advantageous circle. Every act of control was framed as an act of loving improvement. She wasn't being controlling, she was elevating my lifestyle. She wasn't isolating me, she was curating our social brand. And I, a man who has always valued peace in his personal life over confrontation, let it happen. It was easier to cede control of the dinner plans or my wardrobe than to engage in the same circular argument every night. I was the classic frog in boiling water, slowly being cooked in a broth of condescending affection. The temperature rose so gradually that I had convinced myself the warmth was comfort. My one true private passion is building hyper-detailed architectural models. In a small spare room, I have a workshop where I've built replicas of the Golden Gate Bridge and the Sydney Opera House, complex structures requiring immense patience. Bianca called it my tinkering room, and the models my dusty little toys. She didn't see the skill. She saw a childish habit that clashed with the image of the high-powered couple she was trying to project. The boiling point was reached 2 months ago. My boss, Mr. Davies, offered me the opportunity of a lifetime. Lead engineer on our company's new flagship bridge project in the European headquarters. It was a 2-year posting, a massive promotion, and the kind of career-defining work I had only dreamed of. I was ecstatic for about an hour, the time it took me to get home and tell Bianca. I expected excitement. Instead, I got a frown of logistical annoyance. "Europe?" she said, not looking up from her tablet. "For 2 years? What a hassle. I'll have to find all new contacts, and the shipping will be a nightmare. We'll have to put most of this ugly furniture in storage." The "we" was instantaneous and absolute. There was no discussion. She immediately began planning her new life, talking about which district she'd prefer, the kind of apartment she would need for entertaining, and how this would be a fantastic opportunity to reinvent our brand on an international stage. My career achievement was merely a new backdrop for her social ambitions. I was thinking, I started cautiously, that maybe I would go alone for the first couple of months, settle into the job, find my footing. She finally looked up, her face a perfect mask of disbelief. She let out a short, sharp laugh, a sound of pure, unadulterated dismissal. "Go alone?" she scoffed, her voice dripping with pity. "Please, Liam. You'd never survive without me. You can barely match your own socks. You'd be living on takeout and wearing a wrinkled suit within a week. Don't be ridiculous." And that was it. The water hit a rolling boil. All my accomplishments, my professional competence, my entire adult life, erased by that single cutting sentence. She didn't see a partner. She saw a helpless dependent, a project she managed, a well-paying pet she had successfully house-trained. A strange calm washed over me. The years of resentment and swallowed arguments solidified into a single cold point of purpose. I looked at her, the woman who thought she had built me, and made a decision. "Is that so?" I said, my voice quiet. She didn't notice the shift. "Of course it is, sweetie. Now let's look at apartments." I didn't argue. I just nodded, letting her believe she had won. The next morning, I walked into Mr. Davies' office and formally accepted the promotion. The project started in 60 days. Then I began the most complex engineering project of my life, the complete and silent disentanglement of my existence from Bianca's. I operated in two parallel worlds. In one, I was the dutiful boyfriend, listening to her plans for our move. In the other, I was a man executing a meticulous escape. Step 1. The new life. I contacted my company's international relocation department, explaining that my domestic partnership was ending and the separation needed to be discreet. They were professionals. They arranged for a premium, furnished corporate apartment for my first 3 months and a travel stipend, with all communication routed to my private work email. Step 2. The old life. I gave my landlord my formal 60-day notice of termination. The lease, solely in my name, would end on August 15th. My flight was booked for the evening of August 14th. I then used a service to find a new tenant who signed a lease to move in on August 16th. The apartment was no longer mine after my departure. Step 3. The possessions. This was the most complex phase. I hired the movers recommended by my company with a very specific mandate. All of my personal belongings, clothes, books, and especially my architectural models, were to be professionally packed for international shipping. All of Bianca's belongings were to be packed with equal care and moved to a top-tier, climate-controlled storage unit in her name. I paid for the first 3 months in advance. To her, I explained that relocation specialists were coming to do a full assessment for our international move. Her arrogance was my camouflage. She was so consumed with planning her European debut that she never bothered to inspect the details. Step 4. The digital trail. I filed a mail redirection form with the post office. I bought a new phone and arranged for a new number to be activated the moment I left the country. The final weeks were surreal. I would come home from work to Bianca excitedly showing me pictures of Parisian cafes while I had just spent my lunch hour confirming shipping insurance. The most therapeutic part was packing my models myself. I built custom foam inserts, carefully wrapping each delicate structure. One evening, Bianca poked her head into my workshop. "Are you still playing with your little toys, Liam? I need help with the color palette for the new living room." "Just securing my dusty old papers," I replied, my voice neutral. The day of my flight, August 14th, arrived. The movers had come and gone. My things were on a ship crossing the Atlantic. Her things were in a secure storage unit. The apartment was empty, a blank slate. Bianca was at a celebratory farewell brunch with her friends. She planned to meet me at the apartment at 6 p.m., and we would go to the airport together to begin our adventure. At 4 p.m., I stood alone in the empty apartment. I took a photo of the storage unit key and access card, which I had left with the unit's front office manager under her name. I attached the picture to a text, along with the facility's address and the unit number. I sent it. Then I put my old phone in an electronics recycling bin at the airport. I took my seat on the plane, turned on my new phone, and looked out the window as the ground fell away. I didn't feel anger or sadness. I just felt the quiet, powerful hum of a massive engine lifting me into the future. Update 1. It's been 3 weeks since I landed. My new city is a beautiful chaos, and my corporate apartment is sleek, modern, and blessedly quiet. The job is even more challenging than I'd hoped. The freedom is intoxicating, but it's also daunting. For the first week, I'd wake up with a jolt of panic, a phantom feeling that I'd missed a step, that Bianca would somehow walk through the door and start reorganizing my new life. I didn't have to wonder long about her reaction. After 48 hours of silence, my old secondary email account became a war zone. Reading the flood of messages from her friends, and her mother was like piecing together the timeline of a distant explosion. She must have finished her brunch, tried calling my disconnected phone, and then seen my text with the storage unit key. Confused, she would have gone to the apartment at 6 p.m. as planned, ready to take her helpless boyfriend on their grand adventure. And the new tenant would have opened the door. I can picture her pushing past him, demanding to know what he was doing in her apartment, the slow, dawning horror as he explained he'd signed a lease a month ago. The world she had curated, dissolving on a stranger's doorstep. Her first email was pure, sputtering rage, demanding to know where I was and what I had done with her things. The messages that followed were a mix of threats, pleas, and accusations. Then came the emails from her proxies. Her best friend, Chloe, was the enforcer, calling me a monster and an evil person who had left Bianca destroyed and homeless. Her mother tried the guilt trip, writing about how this cruel behavior wasn't the boy she knew. But the real escalation, the dirty trick I had anticipated, came through my new HR department. My boss, Mr. Davies, called me into his office. "Liam," he said, looking concerned, "we received a rather distressing call at your old office. A woman identifying herself as your fiancée, Bianca, called claiming there was a dire family emergency, a medical crisis with your mother. She was hysterical, demanding your new contact details and flight information." My blood ran cold. My mother is in perfect health. "Thankfully," Mr. Davies continued, "our staff followed protocol. Given your discreet relocation request, they flagged it as suspicious and refused to provide any information. They told her that, in a true emergency, they would contact me to relay the message." She hung up. I explained the whole situation to him. The controlling relationship, the "you can't survive without me" comment, my decision to make a clean break. He was professional and supportive, but the incident was a stark reminder of how far she would go. A few days later, a call came through on my new work phone from a number I didn't recognize. I knew I had to face it. "Liam, it's Chloe." Her voice was sharp. "You need to fix this. Now. Bianca is on my couch. Her life is ruined because of you. She can't even get her favorite clothes because you hid them." I took a deep breath. "Hello, Chloe. There's nothing to fix. Bianca's life is her responsibility. She was a guest in my apartment, which I no longer lease. Her things aren't hidden. They are safe in a storage unit. She has the key and address." "A guest? And she can't just get her things. She needs ID to get on the access list, and you didn't put her name on it. You psycho." An honest oversight. "That was a mistake. I've already emailed the facility and authorized them to grant her full access. It's been handled." "Handled?" She scoffed. "You blow up her life, and you think an email handles it? She gave up everything for you." "What did she give up, Chloe?" I asked. "She kept her job and friends. What she lost was access to my apartment and my income. Let's be honest about what this is about. It's about you being a cruel, manipulative coward. Is it manipulative to accept a promotion?" I countered. "Is it cruel to leave a relationship where I was told I was incompetent?" She made her opinion of me clear. I simply chose to act accordingly. I removed myself so she wouldn't have to carry the burden of managing me anymore. I paused. "And speaking of manipulation, please tell Bianca that my employer was not amused by her fraudulent phone call about a family emergency. They have it documented. Any further attempts by her or by you to contact me will be referred to our corporate legal department as harassment." There was a stunned silence. She likely didn't know about that gambit. "This isn't over, Liam," she finally said, her voice low. "For me, it is," I replied. "I'm building a new life here, one that I'm perfectly capable of managing on my own." I hung up. A few days later, a formal-looking email was forwarded from my company's legal team. It was from a law firm on behalf of their client, Miss Bianca Dubois. The war was moving to a new front. Final update. It's been 6 months since I moved. The initial turbulence has subsided, replaced by the steady, satisfying rhythm of a life I am building on my own terms. My apartment is no longer a temporary placeholder, but a permanent home. I'm excelling at the new job, and I've even found a local hobbyist group for model builders. For the first time, I have people to share my dusty toys with, people who appreciate the skill involved. The legal battle was the final, ugly chapter. Her lawyer's initial letter was a work of pure fiction. She demanded a 5-figure sum for emotional distress and wrongful abandonment. She demanded palimony, claiming non-existent career sacrifices. The most ludicrous demand was for half the value of my assets, which specifically named my collection of architectural models, described as valuable, co-owned art pieces. The hypocrisy of her trying to cash in on the hobby she had relentlessly mocked was breathtaking. I never responded directly. My company's legal department, which handles such matters for international employees, took over. Their response was a masterclass in calm corporate obliteration. Legal status, they pointed out that we were not married, had no joint assets, and no legal partnership. Her claims had no basis. The apartment, they produced the lease agreement solely in my name and the legal notice of termination. She was, legally, a long-term guest. Her possessions, they provided the contract for the storage unit, proving my care in preserving her property. The abandonment claim. They countered this with my signed promotion acceptance and relocation package, dated weeks before my departure, proving my move was a planned, professional step. The counterclaim. The final section was a formal complaint regarding Bianca's actions. They included a log of the harassing emails and a detailed account of her fraudulent phone call to my former office. The letter stated that any further legal action from her would result in the company assisting me in filing a formal complaint for harassment. The response was silence. A week later, my legal team received a one-sentence email stating that Miss Dubois was withdrawing all claims. Faced with a corporate legal department and a potential harassment charge, her bluff had been called. I heard about the aftermath through my sister, Maya. Bianca had to pay her lawyer for his time. After the 3 months I paid for the storage unit, the expensive monthly fee became her responsibility. She eventually had to move her curated belongings into her parents' suburban garage. Her extended stay on Chloe's couch ended when the friend grew tired of being an unpaid therapist. Last Maya heard, Bianca was working a second job to make ends meet, living in a small apartment and constantly complaining about how her cruel ex had ruined her life. There was, as expected, zero self-awareness. My revenge was not an act of aggression but an act of radical self-reliance. I took her at her word. She told me I couldn't survive without her, so I created a life where I had to, proving her, and the part of myself that had believed her, wrong. In my new apartment, my architectural models are displayed on custom-built shelves. I am currently working on my most ambitious project yet, a replica of the Pont de Normandie, a stunning French bridge. It's a complex, beautiful structure, a testament to what one can build with precision, patience, and a clear vision. I don't hate Bianca. I feel a distant pity for her. She is trapped in an image with no foundation. She thought her greatest skill was managing me. In truth, her greatest skill was hiding that she couldn't manage herself. By leaving, I didn't just take away her lifestyle, I took away her project. And I gave myself back to myself. I survived. More than that, I am building something better, stronger, and entirely my own.